I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. During Thursday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, Representative Val Demings grilled Assistant Attorney General for National Security, Matthew Olson. Demings asked Olson to reaffirm his commitment to protecting the constitutional rights and civil liberties of all Americans, regardless of the color of their skin, gender, sexual orientation, and religion. Demings said that this line of questioning comes from her background as a law enforcement officer, where she saw some of her colleagues pick and choose who they want to prosecute. Demings said, quote, "I am committed to holding all violators of the law accountable."
Thank you. The gentlewoman from Florida is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Attorney General Olson, for your service. We appreciate your testimony here today. Just please confirm that your job is to prevent, disrupt, investigate, and prosecute all forms of terrorism. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And does that include both foreign and domestic?
It does.
And are you committed to protecting in your work the constitutional rights and civil liberties of all Americans?
I am.
Regardless of the color of their skin, their gender, sexual orientation, religion?
Yes.
You know, as a former law enforcement officer, contrary to some of my colleagues who really like to pick and choose who they want to prosecute based on political party or if it serves their political agenda by any by any means necessary. But Mr. Olson, I can assure you that I am committed to holding all violators of the law accountable. And I do believe that those who are most dangerous, those who are most engaged in the most heinous behavior should be held accountable first. We've heard a lot of talk about the school board. You know, as a parent who has attended school board meetings like you, parents are supposed to be involved in what's happening with their children in school. But you know, and I can tell you, I've never seen any parental behavior that even comes close, even as a law enforcement officer, to the violent, deadly behavior that we all were subjected to on January 6th. However, my colleagues seldom talk about that unless it's in an effort to explain their inaction or it is an effort to explain why they should ignore subpoenas. Matter of fact, my colleagues on the other side said, if you did not know better, you would think it was a normal tourist visit. Well, it certainly was not that, nor do they talk a whole lot about Uvalde or Buffalo or Pulse nightclub that is in my district, bomb threats against HBCUs, synagogues. Mr. Olson, you talked about the unit that you have formed within your department that will investigate domestic terrorism. Could you just talk a little bit more about that, or staffing, resources? Where are we? Are you able to meet the goals of that unit, or what do you still need from Congress to help you to be able to fulfill that mission?
I really appreciate this opportunity, but we formed that unit with the existing attorneys that we had within the counterterrorism section. So it's starting small, but we're going to grow it to meet the threat. What I can tell you is, as I said in my opening, when we look at the threat across the board, whether it comes from violence against public officials at the state and local level, all the way to attacks like what we saw in Buffalo, but in particular, the January 6th attack stands apart. It represents now the single largest domestic terrorism investigation in the nation's history. More than 800 arrests, hundreds of those for felonies. I think it's important as we talk about the range of threats that we be clear-eyed and understand the threat that that attack posed to American democracy as individuals involved in that attack sought to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. And that's why our unit, our organization in the National Security Division, is joined in partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Washington, D.C., and the Criminal Division of the Justice Department to make sure that we have all the resources to bring to bear on what amounts to one of the most wide-ranging investigations in history, which really reflects the significance and gravity of that day and the days leading up to it.
You would really think that the Judiciary Committee of the United States House of Representatives would be really concerned about the most wide-ranging investigation that involved trying to not certify a free and fair election. That is not the case, as all of America who's been watching knows today. I want to very quickly ask you, you made a statement to a question from Congresswoman Jackson Lee earlier about the millions of 702 queries that likely resulted in a search for victims of a cyber breach. Mr. Olson, was that related to the court's cyber breach?
I don't think I can talk about it in this setting. The reason for those searches, I can tell you that it was related to a cyber, an investigation of a cyber attack.
Okay, all right. So that's something that we can, in another setting.
Absolutely.
get
Happy
more
to talk
information.
about this with you and others on the committee in a classified
My
setting.
time is up, but thank you again for doing God's work. We appreciate you.
Thank you.